Hey Real Writers, Chris here with a tarot/oracle reading for writers for the Aries Full Moon on September 24th, 2018. Aries is my astrological sign, so I felt compelled to do a reading, although it's not normally something I have been doing for the last few months for these tarot readings and the oracle readings I did before that. But if I have time, I would like to do them. It's a little crazy right now. I am moving, selling my house, moving to an apartment. Home ownership sucks. I bought this house just literally like 20 minutes before the recession hit, and it's really sucked. So I am moving this weekend. Very excited about that. Excuse me, next weekend. Just got a new car, and I am making some other changes in my life. I've been to a writers' conference where I was acting as faculty and caught a cold, so I feel like everything is up in the air right now. So I can't make any promises, but when I have time, I would love to do these kinds of readings at the new and full moon. But because it is Aries and that is my sign, I am definitely doing one now. So what do I want to tell you about this full moon tomorrow? Because it's currently Sunday the 23rd, and I wanted to get this in before it hit. This full moon brings heat, intensity, and drama, as well as an emotional shift. It's related to career, and these things, heat, intensity, drama, and an emotional shift, are all really positive motivations for writers. These are the kinds of things that really get you moving because you see a disparity or a gap in your life, or something that's moving too slowly or not moving at all, or something dramatic happens that changes everything, and you realize that you weren't as stable a position as you thought you were. So the fact that it's related to career is perfect, because we write as a vocation, and it's because it's who we are and what we would like to do with our lives. So career doesn't have to just mean what you do to pay the bills. So this reading is about taking this energy and channeling it into your writing projects, and what that looks like depending on which card you pick. But I wanted to give you more information here. There are some planets involved in this full moon. One of them is Saturn, which forces you to be the best person you can be, whether you want to or not. And if not, you will feel the effects of resisting. So if you've been avoiding writing or not taking the necessary action toward your writing goals, you will realize the consequences of that now and take steps to, hopefully these cards will help you take steps to rectify that. You know, maybe an agent has just posted on manuscript wish list the exact book you're writing, but you're not even finished your first draft and it's not ready. Or you just finished your first draft, but that's still not ready. Maybe there's a poetry competition deadline tomorrow and you haven't spent the time you needed to writing and revising a collection or a series of poems that would be ready to submit. And it's, just the perfect competition for you. Whatever. Maybe you found a writing group, but they aren't taking members without a complete draft of something. I don't know. Take your pick, whatever you encounter. So this moon is going to reveal what needs fixing so you can fix it. Mars, the ruler of action and desire, is also connected, so you will have the fire you need to overcome obstacles, the passion you need. And lastly, Uranus is also in the mix, which is in sync with the full moon and will help you make careful changes and take right action that will pay off down the road. So basically, keep your goals in view and don't give up. And in the meantime, let's do this reading. Pick a card. And this will give you information on how to navigate this full moon with your writing projects. So it's very easy to pick a card. You just pick the image that you're most drawn to, or perhaps the dominant color that you're most drawn to, or just literally do one. I'm going the opposite direction, counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3. 1 is butterflies. 2 is sort of, I guess that's a shell, like a snail kind of spiral thing happening. And 3 is the compass. These 2 are oracle cards. This is a tarot card. So take your pick. If you can't decide, go with your gut. But if you really need to think about it, pause the video and then come back. So we're going to start from this side, because I usually start from the other side. Okay, Five of Scrolls. Well, this is a new deck for me. This is the Chrysalis Tarot. And I love this deck. I love the imagery of this deck and all the different elements to it. And the suits are different. They're scrolls, spirals, mirrors, and I'm going to totally forget what the last one is. Mirrors and stones. And the scrolls to me seem like the writer's suit for obvious reasons. So the Five of Scrolls is about sacrifice and victory. I think you can pretty much get that from the imagery of the sword plunged into the pages. The sword represents the hard realities of the world. I'm just sharing the imagery from the booklet so we can, because I love imagery and I think as writers it's important to pay attention to that. Scrolls are of higher consciousness, and the great symbol of the material, to the great symbol, Excalibur has affixed these scrolls of higher consciousness to the great symbol of the material world where it awaits your honorable sacrifice of righteousness. Wow, that's intense. The sword of sacrifice can be extracted in different ways. You may ask to focus more on the needs of others than your own. It may caution you to fight off gathering clouds of negative energy. It may ask for the sacrifice of higher consciousness over petty concerns and selfish trivialities. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is in order to succeed with your project, you're going to have to give up some things. You're going to have to make some choices. Do I want to publish traditionally? Do I want to submit to a competition and hopefully win publication with a small press and some money? Do I want to self-publish? Those are pretty much the three basics. If you're working with a small press, you can also just submit to them. You don't have to do a competition, but at least that will get you some money and some recognition, because there are press releases and social media things, and that gets a little bit of attention. And you also get usually free copies, and there's a little bit of a to-do, and you get on the website as the prize winner. So that's a little flashier than just submitting directly to a small press. But what I'm getting from this is you could literally just say that you need to sacrifice some pages. And I don't mean some pages. It may mean a lot of pages. You may need to sacrifice a character, a scene, a chapter, several chapters, a section of the book. This came up in the last reading as well. If you watched my September tarot reading, the Tower came up as one of the cards, and the elements of that are coming here into the fore here as well. So this is about deciding what you want and making the necessary sacrifice. That may mean making choices that you're being asked to make by an agent or an editor in order to sign with them. And that's at the heart of this. If you want to publish traditionally and they're asking you to make a sacrifice of some pages or a section of the book or a plot thread or whatever it is, or a character, you have to decide, do you want to do that or not? Don't let your ego and your emotions get in the way. Because just because you think it's awesome and you love it doesn't mean it serves the book. It doesn't. And you're blinded by your passion for this thing you don't want to sacrifice and really can't see objectively if it does work for the book. In the end, if you must keep it, then you should self-publish. I mean, you can try to send it around, but a lot of people reading for competitions and for publishers and editors, they'll pick up on what is and isn't working. So you can try. So I'm not saying you can't try, but if you pick this card, take a good hard look at your work and see what you need to sacrifice in that work. Maybe if you have a collection of poetry or essays, you're hanging on to an essay or some poems that don't work with the rest of the book, and you need to take them out. Or it could literally just say, you need another revision of whatever you're working on. You need another revision. You need another pass. If you feel like you can't do that, hire a freelance editor, take it to your critique group. If you went to get an MA or an MFA in writing, take it to your professor and ask for their help, but don't abuse that. Only use it when you really need it. Or pick someone you really trust, whose opinion you trust, and ask them for help. What else is in this card? What's in the background to me, I don't think it really is, but what's in the background to me, it reminds me of lavender. And a lot of people use lavender. I mean, it could be, I can't tell. It looks fern-like, but it's purple. So rather than flowers, like flowers. But to me, well, not to me, to many people, to a lot of people, to millions of people, lavender is all about relaxation and calming and handling stress. And so I guess I would say try to stay calm about whatever choice you need to make or whatever action you need to take. Stay calm, make a clear-headed decision. Don't let your emotions run away with you, because you could go too far or not far enough and create more issues down the road. But remember, the booklet said this is not just about sacrifice, it's about victory. So even if you have to, like the booklet says, focus more on the needs of others at this time than your own. And like I said, that could be listening to your critique group or an editor or an agent instead of what you think. But if it literally means sacrificing for the needs of others to the needs of others, like maybe through work or family or friends or whatever that is, I'm taking this as a sign that even if you do have to sacrifice your writing time, you will be victorious over it. You will be able to come back and succeed in your project. So don't despair. Okay, so that was card number 1. Card number 2, and now we're getting to oracle cards. Okay, this is reversed. Happy, happy. It's reversed. But I'm going to turn it around so you can see it, or turn it. So, happy, happy. And let me take what's in the booklet a little bit. It means joy and contentment. This is not the reversed. This is the general meaning of the card. Joy and contentment, a sense of fulfillment, a feeling that all is well. Now, in Colette Baron reads oracle cards, and that's what this is from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck. Sorry, I had a coughing fit there and had to pause the video. This is in protection. When it's upside down, Colette's cards in reverse are called in protection. So the protection message here is lighten up, because this is the time to be ridiculous and silly. See the world through the eyes of a clown and don't take yourself or any situation too seriously. Have fun, be playful, and make laughter the order of the day. You'll be surprised by how everything just seems to fall into place, being happy and lighthearted. Life is meant for play as well as work, for laughter as well as tears. Miracles lie in the silly things. So in terms of writing, this says to me that maybe you've had your nose to the grindstone too much. Maybe you're following one of those, in my opinion, ridiculously strict writing practices where you have to write 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 words a day, or, 100 pages in a week, or whatever it is. I don't believe in those, so I'm sorry if you and I disagree on that. But as long as you create a disciplined practice that works for you, that's all you need. You don't have to do any of these other methods. And if you try to do them and they don't suit you, it's not going to work, and you're going to stop, or you're going to take breaks and give up or whatever. And then you're going to feel like a failure. And you're not a failure. You just need to find the right practice for you. But if you've been following a really strict practice, this means, back off a bit. Maybe instead of writing every day, write every other day, or take a few days off and just write on the weekends for a month. Give yourself a little bit of a break and fill the well. That's what I like to call it. Fill the well. Go to movies, go to plays, go to museums, go for walks. It's September, going into October now. So, this is the perfect time to go walking in the woods and to get ideas and inspiration. And maybe the heat and fire of the colors of the trees will inspire you. Go to yoga, go dancing, go take a class in baking desserts, something completely different from what you're doing, basically. If you need some peace and quiet, like I said, go for a walk in the woods, go to a park if it's a quiet park, or go sit in a church. You don't have to be religious to go sit in a church, and churches are lovely places with the stained glass windows, and everyone is so quiet, and the candles, and it can be really lovely to just sit there in this beautiful space and just give yourself a break. But take a break and give yourself some time to play. Go roller skating, go bowling, do something silly. Have a silly party for yourself. Have a slumber party with your girlfriends, whatever you think will be super fun. Play hopscotch. I did that recently with some kids, and it was really fun. And oh my gosh, I can't do it as well as I could when I was 10. What a shock. But, do that. Also, that's about you. In terms of your project, you might be sticking too strictly to an outline that may not be working anymore, and not leaving enough room for spontaneity and serendipity and miracles and side roads from the path you're on to pop up and take you somewhere else that you hadn't planned for, and that are often signs from the universe, the universal muse, saying, hey, go this way and see what happens. Sometimes we are on a schedule, or we want to finish something, or we just are too afraid to take chances in our work because it means too much to us. And we don't let something breathe. We don't leave enough negative space or open space or whatever, the white page. We're like, oh, we got to fill this. Not necessarily, leave some breathing room, leave some silence, or just burst in and do something crazy and see what happens. So what I'm going to say to you for this card is, see what happens. That's what this card says to me. Do something silly and crazy. If you're doing it in your personal life, please be safe. If you're doing it in your writing, just go for it and have fun and see what happens. Do a little pantsing and a little less plotting. If you're someone who works in form and poetry, step away from form. See what happens outside of that container, although I'm a big fan of form, so, I'm not knocking form. But just go off-roading in poetry. Do an open field poem and see what happens. If you are any other type of writer, or any writer in general, it doesn't mean, I'm not trying to leave out poets and prose writers or fiction writers or nonfiction writers, but I want to make sure I'm saying that, if you're a songwriter or a playwright or an essayist, try to write on a subject or about something that you don't know that much about, or that scares you, or that you think isn't serious enough. Pick a very silly topic, something completely ridiculous, and write an essay on that and make it the most important thing, and really take it, make it transcend what it is. And be silly, like write a satire, or write a parody of something. Try something different. Shake things up. Once you open that door, the muse will share something wonderful with you, whatever you consider the muse to be. But when you leave space and you leave gaps and you leave some silence, that allows for unforeseen, wonderful things to show up and lead you to where a story could go that you haven't even thought of, or a poem or song that's really magical and wonderful. So that's the message for card number 2. And we'll go to card number 1 now. Slow and steady. I think you don't need me to tell you what that means, but let's discuss it. So from the booklet, and this is also Colette Baron Reid, it's the Enchanted Map Oracle cards. Remember the old cliche, slow and steady wins the race? This is the time for easy movement, unhurried steps, and a steady heart. Trust that taking life at a more leisurely pace will give you greater access to your dreams. Slowing down allows more contact with the juicier elements of your life. Savor them. So if you have only been watching for this card and you haven't seen card number 2, which is this one, then listen. Sorry, cold medicine. I am so my brain is on cold medicine. Watch the section on card number 2, because this is very similar. But where that one was about going out and playing and being silly, this card is more about slowing down, being more careful, taking your time, being more thoughtful. And the magic will, just as in card number 2, if you watch that, the magic will be there. Here's these little bubbles of ideas and light. The magic will be there to guide you. The muse, whatever you want to call that, something that just makes ideas pop into our heads to take our stories and our poems and our songs and plays and essays into another realm we wouldn't have thought of. So if you are getting anxious about finishing a project, or you are not meeting your writing goals right now, this message is to just be more thoughtful, maybe in terms of being opposite to card number 2, maybe do a little outlining and plotting. You might be going too fast and missing important things that should be in your piece, or important, whether it's an important element of craft, or maybe you need another layer to the piece you're working on, figuratively, symbolically, whatever. Or you may be just literally going down the wrong path. So this is not necessarily a course correction. It could be, but I feel like it's more, slow down and take stock of where you are and make sure you're going in the right direction. Cool your jets, so to speak. You'll get there. You will get there. So if any anxiety about some sort of deadline is stressing you out, you'll get there. Just take your time. Don't let panic fuel what you're doing. Take a break. Think about where you are and what you're doing and where you want to go. And also with this, as with the second card, be calm about it. Look at these lovely restful colors and just be calm about it. Don't panic, don't worry. You are supported and you will continue to be supported. This could also mean that you are doing too many things in your life right now. You have too many balls in the air. You're running around, maybe supporting too many people, or your social life is too intense, or your work life is too intense, or there's too many things going on in your life, whether by design or this is just the way your life is going right now and you're doing your best. But it could just mean there's too much activity and it's getting in the way of your writing. And that may be stressing you out. I think we can all relate to that feeling. I know I can relate definitely to that feeling. All the stuff going on in my life right now has pretty much sucked all my creative energy out the window, and I'm doing the best I can, but I'm trying not to beat myself up about it, and you shouldn't either. This card says, again, you will get there. Just do what you can when you can. Maybe start saying no to some things. If one aspect of your life is really intense and that's the one you have to keep on top of, like your work life, for example, then back off on your social life. Start to say no to a few things. If your family life, there's something going on in your family that's really intense right now, maybe there's somebody ill, or somebody's moving, or somebody's getting divorced and going through a hard time, or that could be a friend as well, and you're being called on to support that person more than usual. And just try to cut back on work if you can. Take some vacation days, take a mental health day, aka sick day, or a personal day, or change your hours so that you can leave work early, maybe come in earlier and leave earlier so you don't spend so much time in traffic, save some drive time. Maybe cut back on what you're doing on the weekends, and just enter some writing time into your calendar the way you would an appointment, whether it's an hour before bed or when you get home or in the morning. I'm not a morning person, so that doesn't work for me, but if you are and you can do it in the morning, do that. Do it on your lunch hour. There is a video on my other channel, which is Chris Stewart Real Writer. There's a link in the description box, and it talks about going on a writing break in your car at lunch, because cars are very private, quiet places, and if you drive somewhere, a parking lot somewhere, and park, or at the side of the road or something, you can have some quiet and peace to write. Now, if you do that, be careful where you park. The world we live in is not always safe, so I don't want to interject any worry here, but just be realistic and be safe. Don't do that late at night. Don't park in a deserted road somewhere. Maybe don't park in a school parking lot, because the security may come out and ask you what you're doing. So just be practical about picking the right place and logical, and take care of yourself. But a car is a great place to write, and nobody bothers you usually. So depends on where you park, but you could do that as well. So just try to make some choices in your life to give you some time to write, even if you're just journaling, because you could just make lists of things you want to work on, or plot points, or character sketches, or dialogue. You don't have to write full-on scenes. You don't have to write a full chapter. You don't have to do any of that. You could just do fragmented lists and get a journal for your writing if you don't already have one, and use that. And then when you have time to go back to your piece, your poem, your song, whatever, your play, your essay, you will have these bits and pieces to start from. This will be the kindling from which you can set that fire, set that writing fire. Okay, so that's it for the cards today, everybody, for the Aries full moon tomorrow, September 24th. I hope this was helpful. Please check out the link to my other channel in the description box for writing advice and writing prompts. And check out the September reading. I'll put the tarot reading for writers for September. I'll put that link in the description box. And the other readings are up as well. The other pick cards for, I think, from May on. I started doing these in May. You can read them. I don't know why I keep saying read them. Guess the book thing, writer thing. You can view them anytime. They're not necessarily tied to that month. This is when I'm posting them, and you can certainly pick any month and do that pick a card anytime you want, because I also sort of pick a theme for them, and you can just focus on the theme versus the time of year that I pulled the card. I'd love it if you liked and subscribed and commented and shared so I can build the channel, and I'd love to hear from you. If there are readings you'd like me to do on certain questions, share a question and I'm happy to do a reading on that when I can. I should be more settled in my new place by the middle of October, and that's when the October reading will be coming out. I'll do it sooner if I can. And thanks for watching, and happy writing.